10 WWE superstars who need to move shows in the draft 2021 is the video for you today here on SCW. Thank you for choosing the channel and choosing the video. Please subscribe right now. Leave in the comments in the comment section. Please like and share the video as well. Well, the WWE draft is coming straight after SummerSlam this year, so I thought I'd look at the rosters and see 10 superstars that need to move shows during this upcoming draft. So 5 will be going to Raw from SmackDown, and of course 5 from SmackDown to Raw. And of course, at the end of this video, I want you to let me know in the comments below if you agree with my selections, my reasons for them, and if you don't, who you would like to see move over in the draft this year. So without further ado, let's look at SmackDown first. And I think the most obvious one we need to start off with is none other than Drew McIntyre. Now, Drew McIntyre has been a heck of a servant to Monday Night Raw. Particularly, he's been carrying the main event for the last 18 months or so, particularly since winning the Royal Rumble in 2020, which of course was probably one of the last big events in front of fans before, of course, the pandemic hit. And then, of course, he would go on to win the championship at WrestleMania 36, defeating Brock Lesnar. Throughout the PC era, throughout the Thunderdome era, Drew McIntyre has been solidified with the main event, and of course, for only 3 weeks up until from WrestleMania 36 until February, the Elimination Chamber, Drew was champion for almost the entire of that time. Like I said, it was only 3 weeks that he didn't have that championship where Randy Orton held it. He still, though, has been in and around the main event since, and I think fans have got burnt out with the idea of a face Drew McIntyre being in and around the main event. I think even a heel Drew McIntyre wouldn't work in the main event at this point, and I don't want to see WWE have to go through the avenue of turning him heel. But being on Raw as well, he's been, of course, around the championship. He's been around every main event around on that show throughout that time. I think Drew needs a breath of fresh air, not just from the main event scene. I think from a show perspective as well. I think SmackDown would be the right place for him, and SmackDown being the A show as well, this would solidify a big move, and we need some big moves in this draft. You could look and say that, you know, with WWE right now, the rosters do feel a bit stale. Everything just doesn't feel quite right. Let's really shake things up this year. Let's make things different to what we've had previously. I think Drew McIntyre versus Roman Reigns, arguably on a full-time performer basis, it's the biggest main event that WWE can put on, and they can tell a fantastic story with these two, perhaps building into WrestleMania next year. Perhaps it's even done on a further long term. Who knows what WWE will do? Maybe Drew McIntyre will be the person that actually beats Roman Reigns. Who knows? But what they need to do is perhaps give Drew a break from the main event, in my personal opinion. I think they can also do that by giving him a change of show, a change of scenery. I think fans then be more willing to feel that things aren't so stale with Drew McIntyre, and maybe a bit more willing to get on board to get him back to the main event sooner rather than later. Next big move that I think we could make could be Charlotte Flair, and I think a change of scenery would do her a lot of favours as well, mainly because for some reason WWE seems to always put her in matches with Asuka and Rhea Ripley. It seems to be constantly the same matches where we need fresh matches for Charlotte Flair. It gets very stale, very boring. Even though these people can have great chemistry in the ring, I want to see something different on my screen. And of course, if you take Asuka and put her on SmackDown, you still have Charlotte versus Rhea. If you put Rhea on SmackDown, you still have Charlotte versus Asuka. So for me, the best scenario of all of this is to take Charlotte Flair and put her onto SmackDown. Of course, Charlotte being on Fox as well feels like a natural fit as well, with that sort of performer, the legacy of Flair, the name and stuff. So for me, I think that this one kind of works hand in hand, and I want to see Charlotte Flair, you know, go against the likes of like a Bianca Belair. I think that's a really big time match that we could see. It's been many years as well since we've seen Charlotte versus Sasha Banks. So for me, this move actually makes a lot of sense. It's something I really, really want to see. Also, there are some rivalries we've not seen with Charlotte Flair on Raw, which we could easily bring over to SmackDown with us, and that will go into my next one here. What about Naomi? We've never really seen a program with Charlotte versus Naomi. Naomi hasn't really been booked that strongly on Raw throughout her run this time, especially as well since she's lost her tag team partner in Lana, which was released earlier in the year. I would like to see Naomi come back to SmackDown, and I think this would make a lot of sense as well, because with WWE about to go on the road, I think the couples will not be split up on different shows. All the couples will be reunited back together. So, of course, you know, Naomi, she's married to Jimmy Uso, so I think that could work pretty well. And what I'd like to see as well there, with the idea of Roman Reigns, we've got the you know, tribal chief, head of the table, the bloodline as well, going with the Usos, that rumoured stable coming together. Why not have a female member? Why not have Naomi a part of this as well? You know, the head of the table, they could take over every division in WWE. They've got not just the men's divisions, also the women's division as well. And to think about the idea of Naomi against Bianca Belair as well, it would be a fantastic match from a, you know, athleticism professionalism standpoint, I think would be an absolute banger. So that's a match I really want to see also. So for me, Naomi, I think it ticks a lot of the boxes to bring her back to SmackDown. One more as well for the women's division that I was saying that could be a good rival for Charlotte Flair we've not seen as a match previously would be Alexa Bliss, and mainly from this one it's more of a personal preference to me. I've not really been into the booking of Alexa Bliss on Monday Night Raw since she's gone there this previous time. I think Fox has been going more for the sports-based element of wrestling, and Raw's gone more for the, if you want, the storyline basis, the suspense of disbelief of these sort of characters we've got. But let's not kid ourselves. Alexa Bliss, when the transition to this character from the goddess to what we see now, was booked much better in my opinion on SmackDown than what it was booked on Raw. I guess it's kind of me saying I have more faith in the SmackDown writing side of things than I do on the Raw writing side of things. And with Alexa Bliss, I just feel like we may get something better with her on SmackDown. And to think about it once again, the idea of those matches you can have, like I said there, Bianca Belair. I mean, we've got Bayley, we've got Sasha Banks there on the show right now as well. And to think as well, we've not had that Charlotte Flair rivalry between the two of them. I think that certainly would make a lot of sense. SmackDown would be very, very well stacked in the women's division, in my personal opinion. Many people are saying that they need some faces on SmackDown, and there's not enough women to cover the spots. So from this, having 3 of these women move over here, I think really keeps things kind of fresh, but it adds real strength in depth to SmackDown's women's division as well. So that would be another move that I would make. The last one then I'd give from Raw to SmackDown would be The Fiend, purely for the same reasons really as Alexa Bliss. I've not really enjoyed his run on Raw as much, and I do believe for continuity of the storyline or whatever direction they'll go with The Fiend, it would make more sense to put him on SmackDown. But I do understand here that we'd have 2 really big hitters moving from Monday Night Raw. Arguably the 2 biggest stars of that show would be going over to SmackDown. But to think about it as well though, the idea that we didn't really get a Fiend versus Roman Reigns rivalry, we haven't really had a Fiend versus Drew McIntyre rivalry either. So for me personally, I think that this does tick a lot of boxes and matches that I think would want to see and keep things fresh. So for that reason there, I'd be very invested in seeing what The Fiend would bring if he wants to go back to SmackDown, because I just feel like this run on Raw hasn't quite worked out for me. So those will be the 5 people then that I'll pick from Raw to go to SmackDown. Drew McIntyre, of course, will be the first one. Charlotte Flair, Naomi, Alexa Bliss, and The Fiend, Bray Wyatt. So let's switch things up then and do the 5 superstars that I think that need to move from SmackDown to Raw then. And looking at things, the first one I'm going to go with, of course, to try and we've got Drew McIntyre and The Fiend going to SmackDown. I've got to try and balance that out. Let's look at Seth Rollins then going to Raw. And I've got a double whammy of why I think this will take place. And I think my main biggest reason for it is not because I've got so much of a problem with Seth on SmackDown, but I just feel like being the heel that's underneath Roman Reigns right now, he's not got an opportunity of going for that major championship unless he turns babyface. And with the idea as well of Seth then perhaps having the ability on Raw to be a top guy over there, I also feel that Seth could be determined on where Becky Lynch might end up, because I feel Becky is going to return anytime now, and I have a feeling that she will be on Raw. This way it adds some star power initially straight back to Monday nights, and of course if Becky is going to be on Raw, we don't break the couples up. That way we keep Hurt and Seth together. Hurt and Seth could be 2 people that could carry Monday nights on their own. I mean, of course, they've done that previously in 2019. The ratings were stronger then than what they are now. And I personally think this would make a lot of sense going forward. I mean, Seth would actually be able to go for Bobby Lashley if they want to do the babyface run. They could have him as a heel. If Lashley was to lose the championship, then Seth Rollins can take that natural spot afterwards. Where I look right now and I see on SmackDown, Roman Reigns is just the top guy over there. That's not going to budge and it's not going to move anytime soon. So for me, I think Seth Rollins counteracts some of the big names going to SmackDown, puts a big name on Raw. I think we keep Becky Lynch in mind with this as well. And I think Seth will be a top guy, or probably the top guy once again on Monday nights. I mentioned the idea of Becky Lynch returning, and if she was to be on Raw, well, certainly a good competitor that could go over from SmackDown to Raw, in my opinion, to be a good challenger for Becky Lynch, I've always been for Rhea Ripley, would be Bayley. I think that would be the most necessary one that needs to be done from the SmackDown women's side. Bayley has been the longest reigning SmackDown women's champion. She's been in and around the championship scene for a very long time. It's almost to the point with Bayley where I kind of feel that if she's not in a championship match, she almost seems like she's got not much to do on SmackDown these days. She sort of had those ding-dong hello segments on the build to WrestleMania, didn't even get a match at the show of shows. So for me personally, I'd like to see Bayley make the move. I think that you could instantly put her in the championship scene on Raw, and like I said, those potential matches that you could have there with like Rhea Ripley or even a returning Becky Lynch, those are matches that I'd be really invested in seeing. So for me, I think that that's a must trade there. In my personal opinion, of all the names I've said, I think Bayley is the one that needs probably, arguably, to move the most, along with perhaps Drew McIntyre. Of course, as well, Carmella could be another name that we could talk about as well. Now, of course, it's kind of self-explanatory. Corey Graves is now commentating on Raw. We're not splitting the couples up. So, yeah, Carmella to Raw would make sense. And Carmella has been on SmackDown since 2016. She has never changed in the draft ever. So I think this would be the right place and the right time. Carmella, over the years, just seems to be someone that we see on our screen for like a few months here, and then she seems to vanish for a few months there. And it always seems to be on SmackDown. Obviously, SmackDown is a shorter show than Raw, and obviously sometimes they just don't put her as the priority of a show. But I do feel that she would get more TV time if she was on Raw. And always, there does seem to be a thing with Carmella where they do come back to her and give her like a new fresh run or a new fresh gimmick or something to try and push her towards the top of the card. They never seem to lose faith in Carmella. So for me personally, I think that the next move they need to do is change shows for her. If they can put her on Raw, and of course, like I say, Corey Graves being there on Raw already makes total sense for that. So for me, I think this goes hand in hand. Whether Carmella then goes to become a contender for the Raw Women's Championship, maybe she goes for the Tag Team Championships. I don't know what role they'd fit her in, but I certainly think she would get more TV time, more exposure, and probably would flourish better on Monday nights. It certainly would be fresh. That's something I would definitely say, because we've never seen it. So I really hope that this one goes down. Let's go back to the men's division then for our last two draft picks. And I'm going to go for Big E here, who I think he needs to move to Raw. The thing is, for me, I just feel that Big E has done fine without the New Day in the last sort of 12 months. But a lot of fans were upset and unrest with the idea of them being split up in the draft. And Big E at one point did well with the Intercontinental Championship, but he has lost momentum since WrestleMania. I don't know quite what's gone on there, whether they've just not had the plans in place, or whether, with Big E now going at least into the Money in the Bank, it feels like there could be an opportunity that he could win that. But he's had that sort of never-ending program with Apollo Crews, the start-stop program, of course, that never worked out with Aleister Black. For me, I would like to see Big E be someone to fulfill his potential on Raw. Like I've said before, Roman Reigns isn't someone that's going to be given up anytime soon. And where SmackDown has been a place where it felt like we were kind of trying to build some new stars, I think those new stars have a better chance of succeeding on a show like Raw right now, because of the fact that they're not going to be someone that's going to beat Roman Reigns. If Big E was to go over, for example, now and confront Bobby Lashley after Bobby Lashley has completely destroyed the New Day with Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods over the last recent weeks, and of course after Money in the Bank, there is a chance that Big E could be there to come to Kofi's aid, to come to Xavier's aid, and perhaps push himself in towards that main event position, whether he has the Money in the Bank briefcase or not. So for me, I would like to see this. I think Big E has a real shot, if he goes to Raw during this draft, to become someone that we look at in 12 months time from now and saying, this guy now is at the main event, and that was the right move to move him over to Monday nights. Last one I'm going to go for, kind of for similar reasons, is Cesaro. Now, Cesaro, of course, got his championship opportunity in April. He's had a heck of a year, really, Cesaro. He's been winning matches left, right, and centre. He's on a fantastic run. Got his win against Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. That program has continued onwards, even to the current time of recording. In fact, it's going to be in a Money in the Bank qualifier on the week of recording against Seth Rollins again. I think Cesaro, for me, would do with moving to Monday Night Raw. Now, Cesaro has been on SmackDown for a long time now, and I think that a fresh change of scenery would be good. I actually think as well that a championship run, perhaps in the mid-card, would do Cesaro well, to see how that would go before pushing him back into the top championship picture. But either way, I don't want to see Cesaro, flounder, go back down to the opening act or even the kickoff part of the card, or have to be thrown back into a tag team. I think right now Cesaro has a chance to do better on Monday nights, and with some of the stars that I've moved over to SmackDown, I think Cesaro would have a better chance of succeeding on Monday nights, and we could even put him in a position where he could be challenging the likes of Bobby Lashley for the WWE Championship, and I do think that's a match actually I'd quite like to see the more I think about it. So the 5 names that I'd have going from SmackDown to Raw would be Seth Rollins, Bayley, Carmella, Big E, and Cesaro. So that's it. That's 10 superstars that need to move in the WWE Draft 2021. Do you agree with me? Let me know in the comments below who you would like to move from Raw to SmackDown and SmackDown to Raw in the comments below. And do you agree with my reasoning as well? If you like this video, then please hit the thumbs up. Do share it with a friend as well and let them know that SCW is here. If you haven't already, then please subscribe and hit the bell for notifications to be updated when more videos are released. I'm looking to do a lot more draft videos as well as we approach the draft this year. And as well as that, you can go and check out my latest Q&A as well, is available on the YouTube channel right now. But that's all from me anyway. Thank you for watching. Have yourselves a great day. You've been watching SCW here on YouTube. Take care. All the best. I will see you next time.